about a book, Now, Never or Now, which is a bold, emotionally raw coming of age story that speaks directly to young people standing at life's crossroads, wrestling with identity, grief, ambition, and the fear of choosing wrong. This is not a polished fairy tale, it's a lived, honest narrative shaped by loss, resilience, and the radical act of choosing oneself. And the author of this happens to be Tatum Rijper, who is a South African born creative whose journey from dance floors and classrooms to the written page is anything but conventional. Tatum, good morning, honey.
Morning, how are you?
I'm excellent. How are you?
I'm very well. Just a little bit cold this side, but other than that, I'm doing really well.
Same,
Thank you.
bro. Same. Like literally, it was raining, and I'm like, what's going on? This is not the summer I signed up for. Like, what happened to Hoochie
Uh,
Mama summer, guys? What's going on?
Please send me some of that South African sun right now. We've got snow. This is the most snow we've had since the 4 years I've been here.
Wow.
But right now, yeah, I'm missing that South African sun.
So wait, I want to get into this because I think it's so, most people say it's now or never, especially adults,
Yes,
we always speak about now or never, but you're saying never
yes.
or now.
Absolutely. I
Talk
wanted
to
to
us about
flip
that.
it. I was really thinking about different titles the whole time. And I thought of, hey, how can I say this short and sweet, so that it's to the point? And then I just flipped it and it made the most sense because very often we always say now or never, but what if we say never or now? We always tend to put things on the back burner and give it some time and procrastinate. And I think the whole purpose of this book was you write it like
Mm.
now. It's happening now. It's not going to happen never. It's never or now. So that's
Mm.
how the title flip actually came to be about.
You are talking about themes here that I don't think we give a lot of credit to or that we speak about a lot. The likes of grief, ambition, the fear of choosing wrong, wrestling with identity. These are all like subconscious wars that you are fighting as a young person, on top of trying to be academically excellent. You're trying to make friends, but all of these things are underlying. And I feel like you go through like that 1 year of a bit of a crisis, like an early year crisis in
Absolutely.
your life. Talk to us about this, the depiction of these themes in your book.
Right. So growing up, I was always a little bit of a weirdo.
Mm,
I say that with the utmost love. I always felt a little bit misunderstood. So my identity was always like up in the air. I never felt like I belonged. So I kind of always walked my own truth, my own path.
mm,
And when I became a teacher, I saw this firsthand with my students. And everybody wanted to carve you out where you had to be, the role you had to play in
mm,
everybody else's life. And I think what I always taught my kids in school was like, you know what? You can't be for everybody all the time. You have to sometime figure out who you are for yourself first before you can be for anybody else. And what a lot of people don't understand when you're young, you obviously so impressionable and the weight of the world sits very tangibly in your hands, and with that comes all the questions that's constantly unanswered. And what I wanted to create in this book first and foremost was a connection with the characters. I wanted you to feel like, oh my goodness, I know what this is like, I've experienced this. And because it is such a raw story, it's also very, very true to my own story. It was easy to write, and then I could pull from what I've seen in the classroom. I could pull from lived experiences, and I think that is what makes the story so real. I didn't go and how can I put this? I didn't go and figure it out and imagine it. It
mm,
was something that was very, very real. Losing my dad in 2023, I didn't know how to heal, to be very honest. I thought it would be
mm,
music. I thought it would be going back to dancing. I thought it would be all the things that was obvious.
mm,
Um, and then my friend reminded me, hey, you used to write poetry. Did you try that?
mm,
And one night at like 1 o'clock, I just decided to jam some music, write, and that brought me back um, to what I first loved. And it started in a tree behind my house. where I sat in a tree and I just wrote one day, and I think I was like 10 or 11 years old. And that was the first part of me, the first real identity that I had was the poetic side, not the side that others created for me, but one that I created in a tree behind my house. And it all came to be as it should be, delayed purpose.
So, navigating your youth versus this current youth, what are some of the similarities and differences in the theme? And from one weirdo to the other, it's so, and it's so funny about this generation, right? That I realized that we give names to everything, because back then
Yes.
I used to be called scattered brains, like the scattered child. She's so scattered, and then now psychologists said no, but it's neurodivergence, and I'm like,
Oh,
oh,
absolutely.
okay. But think about it. In our youth, back then, we
Yeah.
were called scattered, and we had such negative
Yes.
words for
Yes.
superpowers that kids have. So, youth then,
Absolutely.
youth now, what are some of the, things and traits about this current youth that you're seeing?
Okay, well, in obvious terms, yeah. Like back then, I always say 90s babies, we the ADHD crowd, right? And now there's all these
Bro,
fancy names behind it. I'm diagnosed
bro.
myself, but I never knew that in school. And I'm so happy that back then I didn't have that label. I was just strange and weird, a kid who had her own little rainbow, lived in a bubble. And I think because I was a teacher and I had kids who obviously had ADHD and other forms of barriers to learning, I could see firsthand how giving that label to them curbed them. It put them in a box. And back then, I didn't have a box. I colored outside my lines. And if you didn't understand it, that was your problem. Honestly, that was how I felt. I was very, very I was powered up to be different, and I accepted that. Now, what I see is that people, they engage with the thought more of being different. They want to be different. There's this hunger to be, oh, I'm ADHD, oh, I'm neurodivergent, whatever your spectrum can be. But it's also there's less limitations now because it's understood more. There's a big noise around it, and I think one of the reasons that I wanted to write this book in its rawest form without a team, without line editors, without someone else's voice is because I wanted to be able to say, I am a neurodivergent teacher, learner, forever student. And I did this with all the scatterbrain, with all the stress, with all the, oh my God, 25 personalities going on. And I think what the youth of today need to understand is that it doesn't matter what label you have in the 80s, 90s, or the 2000s. Being yourself is the label.
I will say, I will give credit though, because the reason why I'll give credit to you for writing a book about this is that this youth have done a great job at being able to put names to things and labels to things, right? But I don't think they understand the superpower behind those labels. And when we talk about things like grief, humor is something that is used a lot. When you think about something like ambition, sometimes it can be extreme, that they don't really understand. You can be ambitious, but it's not going to work out within the first 2 years. Like, you need to give yourself time for these things to marinate. So I find it interesting when I speak to a 90s baby, because I'm just like, oh, okay, so we were not crazy. We had all these things, and the names are here now, and we're like, oh, so that's what was going on with me.
That is what was going on. Exactly. We just didn't have anything to call it.
Yeah, yeah. So, in this book, what are some of the themes that you wish that were spoken about in our times, but now you're speaking about them in this particular book?
I think one of the themes that I wish we spoke about more openly was sex. Choosing to be intimate with yourself. I know back in my day, and especially the time period that I wrote this from, was being intimate and the strength in that it wasn't so taboo. And I think being educated around sexual awareness is so important, because very often, you create environments or are exposed to environments where sexual activities of just off the cuff, and I think that's because people are so curious. Girls are so curious. We want to feel intimate before we even know what that is. And this book explores that. It's a spicy little number, but it's more powerful in the fact that the main character, the female lead, she explores her sexuality in so much truth for the first time, and there's lots of yearning, not to just give it up as easily. I also know that very often young girls are misled between what is love and what is just doing it for the sake of someone else's pleasure, but instead to receive that pleasure for yourself. And obviously, back in the day, we didn't always talk about these things as openly as we do now, with awareness around sexual culture, femininity, just empowerment overall, being the main character in your own life, whether that is through your sport or your academics, or in this case, your intimacy level.
Honestly, we would spend the entire show talking about that because it's something I'm extremely passionate about.
Yes, ma'am.
But we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to find out more about what's coming up in your world, and we can't wait for more books like this. It is a 6:41 Central African time right here on The Oasis.
Africa, meet Abedi.
Yeah, that's me.
Abedi is a music lover through and through.
I really love African music.
He's got a taste for all kinds of tunes and spends his days listening to Channel Africa. Guess what? He didn't know.
Okay.
Channel Africa wants to help Abedi and all music lovers everywhere to discover even more incredible music. That is why Channel Africa is calling on all African musicians to submit their music. Musicians, remember to give us all your relevant information. Make your submissions at music@channelafrica.co.za. Submissions are your chance to be heard on radio. But sadly, they do not guarantee that you will be playlisted. All submissions will be carefully reviewed to see if they meet our station's requirement. Channel Africa, the African perspective. Start your weekend grounded and refreshed. Join Zako Muhlanga on The Oasis, Saturday from 6 till 9, only on Channel Africa, the African perspective.
Welcome back to it. It is 6:43 Central African time. We're joined by author, South African born creative author Tatum Rijper. So Tatum, you spoke about something that you hit a nerve, because I think what we also misconstrue about young people, and it's a topic that I really struggle with, is the purity conversation, right? Number one, we live in a state that the rape statistics don't necessarily give a lot of women choice over whether they want to be pure or not, right? So you could be, I guess, quote unquote pure for 25 years of your life, and then on your 26th year is when you're violated. And I'm just speaking about the reality of women on a day-to-day basis, or rather of young people day-to-day basis. But I think also just to avoid the self-inflicted coercion, because sometimes you'll do things because it's like, no, just do it, so now you're almost coercing yourself, and your choice is not based on self-love. How do you depict that in the book? Because we bring self-love only when you have a job and you have the money to take yourself to a spa. But what is self-love from a youthful context?
I think, if I can speak for the character itself, which is obviously a carve of myself, self-love for her was saying yes to herself. Not because someone else placed her in a position to make herself feel for someone else, but rather for herself. It's something that she wanted. Wanting something for yourself is the ultimate self-love. I mean, I speak from a perspective of being a mother and a wife, obviously, where you're always giving yourself off to someone else. I feel very often that even the youth today, they feel that they have to give to everyone parts of themselves without giving to themselves first. And like you mentioned, many women get placed in a position where something is taken from them instead of given. especially something as pure as part of yourself. You know, when you give that freely, whether it is an act of service through kindness or love, relation, friendship, it's something that when you give of yourself for someone else and that brings you joy, to me that just transcends what self-love is to me in my mind. Everyone's choices are obviously different. Everyone's circumstances can then, how can you say, draw a picture of what they feel that should be. But coming from the small town where I was shown so much support and love and affection from people that wasn't even family, I recognize that is something that I deem so extremely important in my form of self-love, is giving. And I wanted that to reflect in the character here, that saying yes for yourself and not to say yes for someone else, that is what I want also my reader base to understand, that in building and developing this character, saying yes is such a powerful key to unlocking the doors of yourself.
You know, Tatum, honestly, I'm really excited about this book. I'm excited about the work that you're going to do as well, because these are things that we wish we heard, man. I mean, these are things, as the 90s kids, as much as we were navigating life, you know, things were very new for us. But, you know, I think this generation, they have a lot of resources. And I'm hoping that they don't get inundated with them, but instead use it to support them. So with that being said, where can we find the book? Where can we find you? Maybe on social media, so we can follow you and keep up with your updates.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yes, so currently my book is obviously available on my website, and I do international shipping as well. I've had to send packages via Paxi, all the way from the Netherlands, because I have self-published over here and distributed over here. And so many of my readers in South Africa has purchased via my website, and then it gets sent internationally. So thank you, Paxi, for hooking me up over there. But I am working on creating the digital version for Amazon and for e-publishing, where you can download the book if you have Kindle or e-reader. So I'm currently working on that to make it more internationally available. And then maybe one day I can publish out there in South Africa, or drop the book on takealot.com if that still exists.
It does, and it's bigger than ever, girl.
Hey, I'm happy to hear that. But for now, it's available on my website until I can get it out there on e-publishing. That is my current goal, as I'm working on book 2 as well.
Amazing stuff. Tatum, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you. It felt a little nostalgic. I don't know if it was just a me thing, or was it an us thing?
That's an us thing, but that is also why I created this baby, because I wanted people to be transported back to the early 2000s, the Y2K, you know, just the vibes of soulful 90s kids. I think aesthetic nowadays is also very relevant to our time back then. So, yeah.
1000%. Thank you so much for your time today. Have a blessed one.
You.
That was author, South African-born creative author Tatum Rijper, speaking to us about her brand new book, Never or Now. It is 6:49 Central African time. Let's enjoy some music right here on The Oasis.
The whole population